Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhantamscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahabhadanyaya krishna prema pradayate krishnaya krishna chaitanya namne gaura tishe namah. Nityanandam namastubhyam Premananda pradayane Kalo kalmashanashaya janava pataye namaha. Panchatattvatmakam krishnam Bhakta rupa swarupakam Bhakta avataram bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jayatam Shuruto Pangor Mama Mandamater Gati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohana Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratanagar Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtadibhi Sevyamano Smarami Sriman Rasarasaram Bhivam Shivata Tatakstitaha Karshana Venu Swanair Gopir Aravindam Brindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa Astatarshata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, unto the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I offer my unlimited Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat pranams to all of the Vaishnavas and all of the Vaishnavis. So, there's two more qualities. The rarity. The rarity of devotional service. That's right, because we had that whole discussion about Brahma and everything. So we didn't go very far. Yeah. Oh, yes. All right, so in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj that merely by personal efforts or by the instructions of higher authorities, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. And then we were saying, Matirana Krishna Paratak Svatova. So merely by those personal efforts or by instructions of higher authorities, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by what? Dust. Yeah, you have it there. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is completely freed from the contamination of material desires. Niskinchananam navranita yavat. As long as one does not take mahiyasam padara, there's no other way. Because here, Prahlad Maharaj is even saying, by your personal efforts, Matirna Krishna Paratak Svatova. That means either by Parata or Svata, by other persons or your own, right? Mito vipadyeta griha vratana. One who also has joint conferences and meetings. It is not by that. Adanta gobir vishatam to mishram punak punak charvita charvanana. One cannot attain Krishna consciousness by those methods, but what will happen to persons who are adanta gobi? Adanta gobi means they are not controlling their senses, which means what? It means to engage in the service of Krishna. Their senses are uncontrolled. Adanta. Adanta means they are not under the control. So what happens? Punak punak charvita charvananam. They go to tamishram. They go to dark place. And again, they engage in the process that the jivas have been engaged in for millions of lives. And that is what? Charvita, charvanana. Chewing the chewed. It's all old. It's all been chewed before. Millions and millions of times. But then he says, Naisham matis tavad urukramangrim sprishati anarto Upagata, then Smahiyasam Padarajo Vishekam. One must take shelter and bathe oneself in the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who is Niskinchan Vaishnava, completely freed from all material contamination. He has no material desires at all in this world. That's the power of the pure Vaishnavas and the dust of their lotus feet. We know that lotus feet dust is a very powerful thing. So now we also have to understand, how do you get that? What is that substance? Mahaprabhu talks about three very powerful substances in this universe. There are three. Trying to remember as I'm saying this, the Bengali verse. You remember? Yes, Bhakta Pada Duli Ar, Bhakta Pada Jal, Bhakta Pada Bhukta, no, Avashesh, yes, Teen Mahabal. Bhakta Bhukta Avashesh means the remnants, prasad remnants that have come from their mouth. Now, does that only apply to Mahaprasadam in the form of foodstuffs? Getting their remnant? Exactly. Of course, that foodstuff remnant, very desirable. Very, very desirable. Devotees will fight one another, even, to get one little fragment, right? Maha Prasad. But the Harikatha of the pure Vaishnava is also his Bhakta Bhukta Avashesh, the remnants from his lotus mouth, right? So, Bhakta Padaduli, Bhakta Padajal. Padaduli means dust. That dust that clings to the lotus feet of the pure Vaishnava. Does it mean only the physical dust that is there? I remember we were on Parikrama, I'm going to so many places. One of the first years, it might have even been the first year, when Gurudev, after Gurudev went to the West, 96 or 97. And I remember Shamala Didi, she was following behind Gurudev, and Gurudev was coming with us. Maybe you were there and you witnessed this. But she was like, when Gurudev would pay his Param Gurudev, when he met who? Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. When he was in that latrine in the Dharmashala, and he wouldn't open the door for anyone, even the district, people were coming, oh, Babaji Maharaj, please, come out, please open the door. And Babaji Maharaj simply would say, I am not well, I cannot come. Babaji Maharaj, we're going to build a bhajan kutir for you. You don't have to stay here in this latrine. And Babaji Maharaj, he would not. But one day, Param Gurudev was sent there, Vinod Vihari Brahmachari, along with another devotee, I forget who came with him. It's in Gurudev's biography. And then they told, oh, Babaji Maharaj, we are the servants of your servant, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We've come to get your mercy. Please open up for us. He got up, opened up the door, brought them in, locked the door, and then they sat there with him. And Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav, Vinod Bihari Brahmachari, received the lotus foot dust on his head by his own hand smearing on him.
Babaji Maharaj took from
Yes.
and put on
Yes, and put his feet on their heads as well. Right? Then he told, I am taking all the difficulties and all obstacles. I am taking that personally on my head. And Gurudev says that whenever Param Gurudev would remember that, he would weep. He says, we have surpassed so many difficulties, so many challenges in our life, all by the mercy of Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj. So there is no such thing still available. Or has it gone along with his departure from the physical plane?
His intimate servitors are also considered his lotus, his dust, his root.
But his dust. What about his Bhakta Bhukta Avashesh? Is that still present? After his physical departure?
His books.
Yes. His books. So, that foot dust and that Bhakta Bhukta Avashesh is available by the mood of surrender and service to that Vaishnava. It is not limited. So,
Can I ask?
yeah.
Because this topic about foot dust is very interesting and has a lot of meaning. And if a devotee, like you were talking about Shamla taking the dust, I see devotees do that. Take dust. But what does it really mean in terms of consciousness and the mood that to get the real blessings of the dust, because we can just throw dust on us, we can roll in the dust of Vrindavan and not change our consciousness much. Or we can take a speck of dust and change our consciousness.
Yes.
So the dust is connected with the feet, which also has some significance.
Right.
Where it's located, right? So can you speak a little bit about that?
I think a lot of you also know from your own spiritual practices and your own spiritual life. What I say about that is absolute submission to that personality. Absolute submission. Oneness of heart with that personality. I mean, there's also a story, I remember hearing about some person that made his guru fall, trip and fall, so that he could take the dust. I don't quite remember who that personality was,
Okay.
No. It is the absolute submission and absolute service mood. I am your servant. Without that reception of dust is external, right? How many persons not only have had the dust, but personally held the lotus feet of Sri Guru, massaging. Not only that, his whole body. Does that mean that now they've gotten the supreme benediction? No, because that's available only by complete absolute submission. Right? Right? Yeah. It cannot come in any other way. You can't cheat the absolute. They know who is absolutely surrendered and who is not. Just like Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, so many persons that in his life history came to him, and they all had ulterior motives, and he just exposed them. But he was willing to give his mercy. But you should stay here with me. Some king came, No, you should stay here with me. Oh, that's right. It was a king who wanted to invite him to come to his palace, and he was again and again begging to him. And Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, he said, if I come there to your palace, then there will arise inside of me a competitive mood with you. You have all this opulence, and I will become your competitor by going there to associate with you. So that will not be the most auspicious thing.
Why competitive?
In other words, he's saying that by associating with you, you're surrounded by all this materialistic opulence and wealth and this and that.
Right.
But he's saying in his deep humility that, oh, by that association, my desire for that wealth become very stimulated, and then I will want to become a competitor of yours. He said, no, it is better that you will simply stay here with me in my Bhajan Kutir and take Dor Kopin and sit and chant Harinam with me. He's inviting him. But the king was not quite ready yet. Right? So, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he's the absolute Lord who is giving his promise. Yeyata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamiya. Anyone of the innumerable infinite number of jiva souls who surrenders to me according to the degree of his surrender, I reciprocate accordingly. It is never that you can cheat. More reciprocation, more surrender, more reciprocation. Absolute surrender, absolute reciprocation. They can never be cheated. They know. So this is what we have to pray for, is that lowliness and meekness of heart and complete submission and complete detachment from anything else. That's pure bhakti. So, in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, verse 18, this is the last paragraph of this section, Sri Narada also says to Yudhishthira, 5th canto, 6th chapter, verse 18, my dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who is the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also your spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He is the only worshipable God for you. He is very dear and affectionate, and he is the director of both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carries out your orders as if he were your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for others, all these favors given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport, devotee, that really made an impact on me. Wow, all those impersonalists, they want that happiness, but that can't even compare, to an atomic particle fraction. Oh, bhakti is the way. It's true. Because that bhakti, it is completely filled with Ladini Shakti potency, right? That is analyzed later on. Samya Bhakt means that it is now manifesting in the devotee's heart, who has come to this stage of bhav. It's a transcendental phenomenon, composed of Ladini Shakti, Samvid Shakti, on the platform of Sandini Shakti. There is no more effects from the modes of material nature in that stage. And then he says, Ruchi bis chitta mashrinya. Mashrinya means melting. What is melting? Chitta, the heart. It's like we say, Cheto Darpanam Marjanam. Chitta, the heart, the consciousness. It becomes melted. It's like Empire State Building.
Dollar bills.
Yeah, dollar bills. So, trillion, that's 1,000 times that. Enormous, inconceivable amount. So, in the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, Prahlad Maharaj, while satisfying Lord Nrsingadev by his prayers, he says, "My dear Lord of the universe, I am feeling transcendental pleasure in your presence, and I have become merged in the ocean of happiness. I now consider the happiness of Brahmananda to be no more than the water in the impression left by a cow's hoofprint in the earth, compared to this ocean of bliss." So that's why Rupa Goswami has titled his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's literally an ocean. It's not only figurative speech, it's actually an ocean in which the pure devotees are continually drowning and submerged in that ocean. And this is inconceivable to the conditioned soul. It cannot even be described. Cannot even be described. Only someone who has attained and experienced that can understand it, what it is, in the level of praying. So, then he says, Rupa Goswami says, similarly, it is confirmed in the Bhavarta Deepika, Sridhar Swami's commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam, quote, "My dear Lord, some of the fortunate persons who are swimming in the ocean of your nectar of devotion and who are relishing the nectar of the narration of your pastimes certainly know ecstasies which immediately minimize the value of the happiness derived from religiousness, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Such a transcendental devotee regards any kind of happiness other than devotional service as no better than straw in the street." So these various quotations Rupa Goswami is giving to introduce these conceptions about pure devotional service and the 6 characteristics, so that those who are trying to approach this life of Shuddha Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti, they will know what is attainable by this. So now the final characteristic is called Krishna Karshani Sada. That this is in the level of praying, not in the level of bhav. Krishna Akarshani Sada. Attracting Krishna. Attracts everyone, but devotional service attracts Krishna. The symbol of devotional service in the highest degree is who? Radharani. She's the symbol. Why? Why is she the symbol? She is, her body. She is composed of Mahabhav. Mahabhav Swarupini. So she is the symbol in the highest degree, Radharani. So Krishna, he's called Madan Mohan. What does that mean? Madan Mohan. Mohan means attractor, and Madan means Cupid. So that's his name. And it means that he is so attractive that he can defeat the attraction of thousands of Cupids. Where is that stated? In the Brahma Samhita. Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Vajami. So, but Radharani is still more attractive. For she can even attract Krishna. This is the epitome of Srila Gurudev's preaching mission. How many times, how many ways he has stressed this. How many art forms have come from his followers and disciples depicting how Srimati Radhika attracts Krishna. How Krishna becomes fully controlled by her. So, therefore, the devotees call her, what's her name then? Yes, Madan Mohan Mohini, who is the attractor of Cupid. We like this. Now, to perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of who? Don't look at the book. Not quite. To perform devotional service means to follow in the footsteps of Radharani. That's what it means. And the devotees in Vrindavan, they put themselves under the care of Radharani in order to achieve perfection in their devotional service. In other words, Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. They are completely under the shelter of Daivi Prakriti. And Prabhupada is saying, Radharani, internal energy, Daivi Prakriti. So, being directly under the control of the internal potency of Krishna, devotional service attracts even Krishna himself. Why? Internal potency, Radharani. That's why Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. The purport of what is the Mahamantra, what is the meaning of it. But one of those is by Gopal Guru Goswami. One of those. There's also by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami. That's a very hidden one. Very hidden moods, Raghunath Das Goswami. But, And Jiva Goswami. And so, but the purport of the Mahamantra written by Gopal Guru Goswami, that's the one which Srila Prabhupada paraphrased in his lecture on the Mahamantra. What is the meaning of Hare? What is the meaning of Krishna? What is the meaning of Rama? That is given there. So, the time has gone. 2 more paragraphs, but I'm being obedient.
Maharaj, if you want,
No, and we never want that. So this is very good. Okay. So now we're finished, and we'll now have the Gaur Arti.